Dave, this is a campaign to reintroduce trams to Bath and I know to Bristol that's been running for quite some time. Suddenly you're promoting a new scheme, a new proposal. So what's different about what you want to introduce now?
Well, lots of people have said that the overhead wires are unsightly in Bath and inappropriate. And this new system offers a completely wire-free tram system. That's one big attraction. The second attraction is it runs on hydrogen, which is enjoying a bit of a publicity blitz at the moment. So it's quite futuristic and, you know, with all the climate change and everything else. And it's worth pointing out that what people don't realize is that all vehicles produce massive amounts of pollution, not from the engine, but from the tires. And so any electric vehicle, bus or car, will still carry on producing huge amounts of very small, very dangerous rubber tire particles. And the plastic in tires, a lot of plastic in tires, all gets washed into the roads and rivers, into the seas, and it's this microplastic pollution. So this tram is entirely pollution free in the cities.
Okay.
And if it's run by... Too much information there?
No, that's fine. I was just going on to say that there are other advantages that you're promoting with this proposal, that it's powerful enough to get up the hills. And it's lighter because, of course, there is an issue, isn't there, about all the cellars under the surface of Bath's roads?
Well, yes, it can get up all the hills, but to be fair, so could all the trams we had between 1900 and, or 1904 rather, and 1939. They could all get up the hills.
Well, how much disruption? How much disruption would there be in installing the tracks, because it still has to run on rails?
Well, it depends really. If you decided to do it quickly, you know, if you imagine you had 100 gangs all doing 10 meters every night, let's say, you could do it in quite a short space of time, a month or so. But obviously you would tend to, it will be longer than that. But in fact, whenever there's been disruption because of roadworks, it doesn't actually make much difference. I mean, the whole road to Warminster, whatever that road is, A36 is it, was closed for months, and it didn't actually, nothing, the earth didn't grind to a halt. Bridges are closed. It's quite surprising how little effect closing one short stretch of a road has on the overall scheme of things.
Okay.
Bath is always being dug up.
Yes, no, that's true. There's lots of issues around Queen Square at the moment. But if you got the green light to go ahead with this system, how much of Bath would it serve, and how much more would it be able to do that the bus service can't do now?
Well, what people don't get is that, like it or not, the facts are that car drivers will not use buses. So buses have been in decline ever since, in fact, since the trams were withdrawn, they were replaced with buses. Bus use has been declined because for various reasons, buses cannot offer the same reliability, the same short interval, and the same space. So people don't like being crammed together on rickety buses that you have to wait 20 minutes for, whereas they will use a tram. So if we reinstalled a tram system, you would then have a big shift from cars to trams, and that is a huge difference. And that's why we've been going on about this, is that the only technology in Britain, in fact anywhere else in cities, that has shifted people out of cars is a steel-wheeled tram. Buses have never worked.
Well, certainly they've been reintroduced in many other places, but who's going to pay for this?
Well, that's easy. People don't understand there really is a magic money tree. It's called borrowing, international borrowing. the UK government can borrow at something like 1% at the moment. And various studies have shown that a tram has a positive economic benefit. So if you borrowed, let's say, £200 million to build the tram network, you'd find that after 40 years, your value had increased dramatically over and above repaying the capital. And I saw today that the government is announcing a 12 billion road program. And where did that money come from? Well, it's international borrowing. And that works out at about, I did the sum, about 200 million for Bath. If you spread that money over Bath, we're spending 100 billion on the HS2. So there is actually no shortage of money, providing it's invested in systems that have a rate of return greater than 1%. Okay. And trams indeed do that. As if you look on our website, you'll see there are rate of return calculations.
So you have lots of financial arguments in favour of the trams and in favour of this proposal, but do you have the local authorities on your side? What about Baines? What about the West of England Combined Authority?
Well, sad to say, we produced a dossier of information, I think 4 years ago when we started, and this convinced the then Baines to push for trams, and they got £2 million or thereabouts from WECA to do a tram study in Bath, see if they were feasible, and another study connecting Bristol to Bath, also looking at trams along with other technologies. Since then, this has been watered down to doing yet another transport study, which we don't really need because we know where all the vehicles go in Bath, and another study, I think, connecting Bath to Bristol with an unspecified technology. And so it's been very difficult, but we are beginning to make headway. I think our arguments are now penetrating WECA, and we are combining with other groups, including Transport Forum for Greater Bristol, and we are really pushing trams up the agenda, I think.
So you want people to talk about it. It's a great help, is it, if the people of Bath start talking about trams and expressing their opinions and maybe putting a bit of pressure on as far as the local MP and their councillors are concerned?
Yes, it would. I mean, the trouble is, it's not something that interests most people, and at first glance, it's not obvious why a tram works. So we're gradually getting people round to the idea, but what we really need is a local celebrity to pick it up. And we've been trying to find such a person, but we haven't got one so far. But yeah, people should talk about it. But you know, people have got other things to worry about, and they pay people like the council and WECA to do this. And unfortunately, these organisations just don't have the imagination. If you look at what they've done in all other big cities like Manchester, Sheffield, Edinburgh and so forth, they have, Birmingham I should say as well, yeah. They have local versions of WECA who've realised what needs to be done and have been reinstalling trams. Yeah. And in these cities, it's only in these cities that the quality of life has improved and the traffic has diminished, and very importantly, the use of shops in the cities have increased. Yeah. People won't go into the shops because it's so hard to get in there. They don't want to use the bus, and it's so difficult to drive in. So this is one of the reasons that Bath has declined.
Well, I'm happy to give you a media platform to put forward your views. While you were talking, Dave, I was thinking of Bath celebrities. I've only come up with Mary Berry so far. I'm not sure whether you'd find her useful or not, although as a child, she probably does remember the trams. Now, let me just say to you...
Have you got a contact with her? We will write her. Yeah, she would be perfect.
COVID-19 has sort of got in the way, hasn't it, of everything. All the energies seem to be focused on dealing with the impact the virus is having on the country. You may be well down the list at the moment. Do you think this new proposal will do anything to push you a little further up the list?
Well, I think so. I mean, as I said, the fact we've got a COVID epidemic hasn't stopped the government announcing a £12 billion road building plan. So, you know, it's business as usual as far as they're concerned. So they can easily come up with the money for this.
Well, they
And
apparently aren't. Sorry, I have to say, Dave, our national debt apparently is £2 trillion.
Well, as I said, borrowing money, or rather the implication what I said earlier, borrowing money to build a scheme like this actually reduces the national debt, because the capital you borrow actually becomes larger after 40 years because of the way it cuts the cost of actually living. So if you give money to people just to spend on pointless consumer goods, that does increase the national debt. But if you give the money to build infrastructure projects that are not costs, they're investments, by reducing the cost of being a person in Britain, they actually lower the national debt over time.
Well, we will see, but I'm quite happy now to put this out on Bath Museum, and let's see what sort of a reaction we get from the good people of Bath. Dave, thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And any celebrities, they know where to reach me.